Hello and welcome to My Wildlife Year 2024, month 1, January, and welcome to Denham. All the videos, monthly videos this year will be taking place in and around Denham. Might be in my back garden, around my house, but also in places like the green behind me. The green might not look like much, but if we look up here, you can see there's quite a lot of trees up there, and during night there's a lot of bat activity here during the summer, but also there's tawny owls. There's a couple of tawny owls in the green, and it's a task this year. The sort of challenge I've set myself is to actually see if I can video one of the tawny owls using this camera that I'm speaking to just now. Now, talking about cameras, videos are either going to be made using my phone or made using this camera here. And other places we'll visit during the My Wildlife Year will be the Denham Dean, which is just over behind those buildings there. Along there is the school grounds as well. I'm hoping to get in there and see, because I know there's quite a lot of interesting wildlife, including badgers use the school grounds. And also going down to the River Teviot, down that way. During the summer there's lots of, in fact during all year round there's lots of activity, but especially in the summer. But hoping to see otter down there at some point. I'll be setting up a little hide and hoping to catch some otter and film as well. So I hope you enjoy this. As well as looking at wildlife in and around Denham, I'll also be doing other things like looking at bits of equipment, doing some survey work, maybe doing some practical conservation as well, looking at some books. I've got some interesting sort of pets now, some exotic things, not UK wildlife, but I thought I'd share them with you as well. And of course I'm a wildlife rehabber, so if I get something interesting in, I might show that as well. So let's get on with My Wildlife Year 2024 and get on with January. Well, I thought I'd better just start with introducing myself in case you haven't actually seen any of My Wildlife Year before. I'm Graeme Wilson. I'm an ecologist and wildlife educator, as well as being a rehabber in my spare time. That's not my work, that's just something I do, and it's not a hobby either, which I might cover later. It's just something I do in my spare time because I'm really dedicated to wildlife, I suppose you would say. So the ecology side, I do a lot of survey work, that pays the bills, but it's actually the wildlife education. I run workshops, I lead events, do talks, that type of thing, both online and in person, and that's my passion. That's what I really love doing. It doesn't matter whether it's to children, teenagers, adults, any age. I just love imparting knowledge, and I try and do it in an interesting and enthusiastic manner. That's not just me being enthusiastic, but actually enthusing the people as well. So I've been really lucky to get into this career that I've always wanted to do from the moment I've always been into wildlife, but from I was 10 I did my wild conservation badge with the Cubs, and I worked with some rangers, and at that point I decided I wanted to become a countryside ranger. Took me till I was 30 to actually be a ranger, but I'd been working in conservation in other roles before that, and I've worked in various roles. I've worked as training supervisors for conservation teams, education, lifelong learning coordinators, community development field workers, environmental community development field workers, biodiversity officers. I've also managed a local record centre, so I've done quite a lot in that time, and now I'm freelance. I also do a couple of days of work with one of my friends as well, to pay the bills, and the rest of my time I do things like this, and this isn't about making money. Actually, it's not even about people watching it. If one person watches it and learns something, I'm happy. Be really nice if more did, but so yes, so I just, I'm always happy to answer questions. I always say to people, if they attend one of my workshops or events, this isn't a one-off. You know, you can contact me at any point, and I will be happy to, you know, answer any questions. And if I actually don't know the answer, which happens occasionally, you know, because I don't know everything, I normally know someone that can, and I'll try and get the answer for you. So yeah, so feel free to get in touch through social media or through GW Ecology website, gwecology.com that is, and yeah, look forward to you joining me on the trip through my wildlife year 2024. I'm in my garden trying out one of my latest acquisitions, which is this little pop-up tent here. I'm hoping it'll make me a wee bit more incognito when I'm filming wildlife in the garden when I'm out and about. It doesn't take long to put up, so let's go and see if anything turns up. So I've had robins and house sparrows so far. Well, if it was then, I've heard rook, jackdaw, starling, redwing, blackbirds, herring gull. I can't remember if there's anything else I've heard, but I've definitely heard all of them, but not seen them here. Hopefully soon. Right, it's starting to get windy and I'm a bit chilly. I've been at this for over an hour and a half. Final tally, robin, brief glimpse of a sparrow, blackbird, and a couple more visits from the robin. That's about it. Annoyingly, I could hear lots of other things. There's a cockerel going in the background, but I could hear other things: collared doves, wood pigeon, blue tit, and they were out either side. But if I'd opened these ones, chances are they would have flown off, and I wouldn't have got them on camera anyway. But yeah, still worth doing, and it was quite relaxing as well, which is always nice, just to have some time with myself and with nature. You know, definitely worth doing. I've just taken the tent down and put the camera away and can you see who's back? The blackbird. During my wildlife year 2021, I busted a few wildlife myths. Not every week, but some weeks I would just pick a wildlife myth to bust. Well, this time I'm actually going to bust 12 this month in January, and they're all wildlife rescue myths. Number one wildlife rescue myth is it's good fun. Well, there is occasionally a bit of fun to it, but most of the time it's not fun. It can be stimulating, it can be rewarding, but it can also be very hard work and heartbreaking. Certainly not. Fun is not the main thing I think of when I'm doing wildlife rescue. It's not. Number two myth is that wildlife rescue is easy and it's just like looking after a pet. It's not. It's very hard work, takes a lot of learning. All the different rescues are different, so you have to learn a lot, and it's a huge commitment, so it's not easy at all. Number three is something I've been accused of a couple of times, which is that wildlife rehabbers just post to social media for the likes. They don't. They'll post for various reasons. It's not usually for the likes though. It can be to raise awareness, to show the realities of wildlife rescue, or it could be to maybe help fundraise for the work, because a lot of rehabbers do the work out their own pocket and self-fund it. Number four is actually a really widespread myth, which is that in the UK vets have to treat wildlife for free. That's not true. They're obliged to relieve suffering, which is either pain relief or quite often euthanasia, but they don't actually have to treat for free. I'm really lucky. Hoyk Veterinary Practice, I've got a really good working relationship with them. They'll occasionally drop something off for me to rehab once they've treated it, but also if I take something into them, they'll quite often treat it for free, or if it's something that actually costs a lot, then I will, I'll get charged, but it's not an astronomical amount. They do help, it's a mutual relationship, but I don't expect them to treat the animal for nothing. If I take in a rescue, I will always say, what's the charge? And sometimes they say, well, there's nothing. Sometimes they'll say, well, because there's a lot involved, here's what it is. So, yes, vets do not have to treat wildlife for free. Number five is actually a difficult one, and I sometimes find it difficult as well, which is that wildlife in rehab needs to be talked to and cuddled. It doesn't. It's actually, what you've got to remember is these are wild animals that we're dealing with, so they actually, just even talking to them could actually cause them sort of stress and not aid the recovery, or actually have a really negative impact on the recovery. So quite often I will try not to engage with animals. You don't want to cuddle them as well, even though that might be what you wouldn't really think is needed. Occasionally I will sort of like get in body heat, cuddle them into me for body heat, but that's if it's actually something that is very cold and I'm the warmest thing around to heat them up. But normally I wouldn't be cuddling a rescue. So yeah, we don't cuddle and talk to rescues, because we don't also want, if it's a young one, we don't want it to imprint in us, which makes then release a lot harder. Number six, remember how I talked about heartbreak earlier? Well, number six is that majority of rescues end up in a release. Unfortunately, that's not true. Rescues, once an animal comes into a rescue, its chances of a successful release are probably about 30 to 40%. If an animal is so bad that it needs to be taken into care, it's already facing an uphill struggle. It's unfortunately, that sort of, animals will come into care and they'll have some underlying issues, or they're too far gone, or there's so many things that can happen to a release. It's you can put in a lot, and sometimes they'll seem to be doing really well for quite a few weeks, but because of that underlying issue, they just suddenly go, and it's heartbreaking. Number seven is that if you look after one type of wildlife, you can look after any. That's unfortunately not true. I will look after a lot of different types of animals, but there's some that if they came into me, no, I would, they would come into me, but I would be looking to get them on to a specialist rescue who are trained and are able to look after that particular species. There's some that I would just be sort of like, that are just outside my comfort zone and outside my knowledge. I would not be doing the rescue any good. In fact, it would be causing it harm to try and keep it in my care for any longer than necessary. So it's knowing that, when to look after something and when to pass it on to a specialist. And it doesn't even actually have to be something that, it might be a species that I'm used to looking after, but whatever's wrong with it needs specialist care that I can't either give the care or the time to. I'll put it on to someone else that can. Number 8. Now, the next few are actually species specific or groups of animal specific. Number 8 is that hedgehogs out during the day need to be taken into care. That blanket statement is not really that helpful. Most hedgehogs out during the day will need to be taken into care, but there should be a caveat there. Now, I actually have posted this to social media and most people were okay, but there was a couple, in one particular who was a hedgehog rescue, who said some quite nasty things to me actually about it, or not to me because they're actually, I've already had a run-in with them, but they're already blocked unfortunately. And this was on Twitter and I've only got 2 people blocked on Twitter and they're one of them unfortunately, but someone else shared the stuff and let me know what they'd said. I won't go into that though. However, the caveat is that if the hedgehog is out during the day and moving confidently and looks perfectly okay, it's a good size, and it's not small late in the season or that, it's a good size, moving confidently, just leave it be. It's fine. If it's wobbling, if there's flies around it, it's obviously injured, it just doesn't look right to you, yes, it needs to be taken into care. But if it's moving fine, don't. And the reason for that is I can give 2 examples. One example is that one time I was out working and I was working in a group, and unfortunately someone else in the group disturbed a hedgehog. That hedgehog that was sleeping got up, walked off, and I never knew that a hedgehog could actually walk grumpily, but this hedgehog was definitely walking grumpily to find a new place to that. There was no need. It was out during the day, yes, but it had just been disturbed. It was going off to find somewhere else to sleep. There was no need. The other one though was actually, could have been even more serious if I had taken it into care, which was I saw a hedgehog out walking during the day and it was walking quite confidently. I thought, that's unusual, but I kept an eye on it and I watched it and it went to its nest and it took out a young hoglet and walked back to another nest, and it did that, I can't remember, 2 or 3 more times. Chances are I'd actually caught it halfway through the trips and it already had other hoglets in that second nest. When I saw that hedgehog just walking back to its first nest and taken into care because it was out during the day and it needed rescued, what would have happened to those hoglets? They would have died. So there are some reasons that hedgehogs can be out during the day. Sometimes it's a mum who's just wanting a bit of a break from the hoglets because she's been busy feeding them, she wants to go and get something to eat. Other times it can be a mum to be actually out getting stuff to make a nest. So yeah, if it's out during the day, a hedgehog, if it doesn't look right or you've got any concerns, yes, but if it's moving confidently and looks well, just leave it, because you could actually do more harm than good. And taking a well hedgehog into care stresses it out. And this is probably going to be the lengthiest of all my myths to bust, but I just felt I wanted to share that. Number 9 is actually that if you find the ground is swift, you need to take it in your hands and throw it up in the air as high as possible and get air underneath it to take off. In fact, there's even wildlife rehab books that will still tell you that, to do that. However, don't, please don't. You throw a swift up in the air, if there's anything wrong with it and it's not strong enough to fly and it lands and it could damage a wing, and even, I'm not just talking about bones, even those feathers in the wings, if they get damaged, that swift has no life and is going to have to be euthanised. So it's not, it's a case, if you've got one, pop in your hands, face into the wind, and just stretch your arms out and just go like that and see if it flies off from there. If it does, great. If it doesn't, take it, pop it in a box, and get in touch with someone. A rescue that can deal with swift care is very specialist. I've been lucky. I've known a couple of people over the years that have taught me some good stuff, so I know what to do, and I've looked after a few swifts over the years, and they've all managed to get back into the air, thankfully. Number 10 is a young deer or a young hare found on its own during the day. Needs to be taken into care. No, it doesn't. It's just been left by mum for the day. She's went off to feed herself, and so that she can produce lots of good milk for her young, so that she'll come back in the evening and the young will suckle. So yes, don't take a young deer or a hare that you find on its own. It's just waiting for mum to come back. I've had a few experiences like that over the year where I've said, someone said, I found a hare, what do I do? And a young hare, what do I do? And I've said, just leave it, keep an eye out. And sure enough, mum turned up that evening in every case. Number 11 is one that I've come across quite a few times, which is that in the UK you cannot touch a grounded bat or an injured bat without a licence. Actually, it's the only time you can touch a bat in the UK without a licence is if it is grounded or injured. Giving first aid or emergency care overrules any licensing. However, if you are going to touch them, always wear gloves, or if you've got to lift it, if you haven't got gloves, a towel or something like that to lift them up and place them in the box. Place it in a box, ventilated box, and secure the lid. If you're going to take it in, the other thing to do is if you think it's okay, take it and pop it somewhere like in a wall or a tree, but the chances are if it's on the ground and lying still, it probably needs taken into care for assessment. So that's so just pop it in a box with a milk bottle top of water and maybe some kitchen towel at the other end, scrunched up so that it can go in behind there and feel safe, and secure the lid of the box because bats are climbers. But yes, that's you can perfectly legally touch a grounded or injured bat, but just do it safely with gloves, just to reduce any risk of infection. And then 12 is one that comes up, every year, several times, which is a fledgling in your garden needs rescued. Chances are it doesn't need rescued. Nestlings will. Nestling, if it's not got feathers or it's just got really just fluffy feathers, then it will need rescuing. If it's actually got proper feathers and just it looks a wee bit fluffy or that, and it's just a young one, they'll leave the nest. Most birds leave the nest. There are exceptions, of course, like swifts. Most birds will leave the nest and hang around the nest and let mum and dad feed them. So if you see a fledgling out in the garden, just keep an eye on it, and chances are you'll see mum or dad turn up with some food and to feed it. I've had this last year. I had someone contact me and they were a bit concerned about a thrush that was in the garden. It came into the conservatory and I said, well, look, just don't leave it. I was actually on holiday at the time. I said, just leave it. And sure enough, the next day, mum and dad were there feeding it. So yes, it's, a fledgling in the garden, more often than not, does not need rescuing. And hopefully you enjoyed those 12 wildlife rehab myths being busted. If you've got any questions about wildlife rehab, please do get in touch. I'm always happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the light in here, but right in there, that's a hedgehog. That was Mr. Prickles. Couldn't be able to see him. I'm not going to bring him out. He's a rescue, so I'm not going to disturb him. What I was doing there was I was putting in some food for him. He's not really hibernated. He's been in care over winter. He came in at 266 grams very late in the autumn. There was no way he was going to make it through winter. And by the time I got him up to a reasonable weight, the weather had just really turned cold, so I'm overwintering them, staying with me till spring. It's debatable whether overwintering is a good or a bad thing in captivity. So um, I'm overwintering them. I'm trying not to disturb them as much as possible. Um, and if I happen to be feeding them and I'm going to feed him and he's awake, I'm giving him a quick wait. Last time I weighed him, it was still a good weight, so he's not losing any weight, which is good. So I'm going to keep him, release him in the spring, but I just thought I'd show you quickly, just as I was putting some food for him. I should say, although rehabbing this hedgehog and I've rehabbed one in the past, still always willing to learn new things. So I'm actually booked on a course. I think it's the 9th of February up in Edinburgh Zoo next month. It's run by, I think it's a Bale Wildlife Rescue. Well, I can't remember exactly, but they're running it, and so it's a hedgehog first aid and care course. So I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully I'll learn some new stuff. Another rescue I've got in just now is Snowball here. He's actually been with me since Halloween 2022. So he's been here, what, a year and a quarter, over a year and a quarter. He's a white fantail dove. He's looking a bit grubby at the minute. He was actually out during the summer. He went out into one of the enclosed hen runs, and he really enjoyed himself with the hens. He moved into the coop, and it's quite funny. I know he's a he, but he was trying to romance all the hens and court them. But during the winter, he got a wee bit muddy in the run, and I couldn't keep him clean, so he's had to come in over winter. So he's here just now. But come the spring, he'll be back out in the run and be able to flap about a bit. He can't get any height, unfortunately. That's why he can't be released. He's got a damage to his shoulder, one of his wings, and he just cannot fly and get any height. So he's in permanent care now. So he's a lovely bird, it's Snowball. We were talking about hedgehogs a minute or two ago, so I thought I'd share a poem from this Prickly Poems, an anthology of hedgehog poetry. It was lots of different poets put in there. Hedgehogs are very popular, and it was produced in association with the British Hedgehog Preservation Society. Now, unfortunately, it's out of print now, but you can pick it up on eBay and other second-hand booksellers, and also in second-hand bookshops. If you keep an eye out, it's well worth getting. So I thought I'd share with you. Favourite poet of mine, who was also a comedian, Spike Milligan, and it's Hedgehog. So Hedgehog by Spike Milligan. Watch out, hedgehog on the road. Careful all those lorries with their heavy load. Hedgehog, careful in the lane. Remember the big lorries? Well, here they come again. Careful when you're crossing. Rabbit, frog or toad. Remember, little hedgehog, there's danger on the road. There's the sorry pussy, got run over flat. So careful, little hedgehog, or you end up a mat. Sorry if you like cats, that was a wee bit gruesome at the end, but yes, it's well worth getting this book. So it's not often I do something like this. So I'm taking myself outside my comfort zone. When I did My Wildlife Year in 2021, being in front of the camera took me outside my comfort zone. I'm a wee bit more at ease in front of the camera, so I'm doing things like this year to take myself a wee bit further out my comfort zone. I don't normally read poetry like that. So yes. So let's see what else is up next on My Wildlife Year 2024. I'm out in the garden. I'm looking for bits of privet because let me get a bits like this, just that length, because I need it to feed to something. So I've got a little handful and I'm going to wash it under the tap. It doesn't need much of a wash, just to get off any bugs or anything that's in that. So I've put the clippings of privet in a jar with some cotton wool and water, and I've actually put a couple of twigs up so that things can climb up. So what things go in here? Well, these aren't native to the UK. Recently, I've increased the number of non-native invertebrates that I've been keeping as pets. I'm keeping them as pets, but I'm also keeping them as an educational resource because it's great. Because if you've got a giant olive millipede, for instance, you can actually show that to children and adults, and they'll be able to see a lot clearer rather than a really small millipede. So I've decided to increase what I've got. So I've got quite a few here, and these ones are Indian stick insects. So here they are. They're at different ages, so some have had more molts than others, so they're different sizes. So I'm just going to pop them in here. I'll just check I've got them all out of the box. Yes, I have. So there they are. Amazing camouflage. When it comes to cleaning them out, I have to be very careful that I don't miss any. I have to count them and pop them in a tub and make sure that I get them all. Stick insects are a really great pet to keep because they don't live that long. They only live, they reach maturity in about 6 months, and then they live maybe another year. But they also breed quite easy, so not expecting having to buy any more after I've got these. I'm hoping they'll all breed. So yep, I'll just go and pop them on a heat pad, and I pop a little thermometer and hydrometer in just to keep an eye on humidity. Every couple of days, I just spray the leaves, and that gives them enough water to drink as well. Here's a couple more of my tanks, so I'll be showing you them as we go through my wildlife year 2024. Do you know what this is? Looks like a bit of poo, but it's not. It's actually come up the other way. It's actually been coughed up. It's an owl pellet. What they do is they wrap all the bones of the things that they've eaten up in the fur that they can't digest, and then cough it up. It's a lot easier than trying to poo it out. But actually, most birds produce pellets. So other birds of prey, for instance, this is a sparrowhawk. You can actually see that's some feathers sticking out there, and all the bones are fragments because they actually break up the bone, and their digestive juices in their stomachs actually can digest the bone a bit as well, whereas owls, they don't have quite as strong digestive juices in their stomach, so the bones don't get digested at all. So yes, so I'm quite pleased to get that one. And another one, this one's very small. This one is a corvid. I think it's a rook, but it could be a crow. I get both of them in the garden, and this was found in my garden on top of a fence post. So it's a crow one. It's got bits of grass and seed heads in it. And last but not least, remember how I said most birds do? This one I'm most proud of. Look at the size of that. It is tiny. But can you actually get a good look at it? There we go. There we go. It is really small. And I'm certain that is from a blackbird. So even blackbirds, even small birds like robins and that, will actually cough up stuff that they can't digest. So I thought I might dissect an owl pellet and show you what's in them. So what I've got here is an owl pellet. I've wrapped it up in foil. I've actually cooked it on a medium heat in the oven for about 40 minutes. That's to kill off any, not just any bacteria, but also any eggs that are in there. Sometimes things like moths, clothes moths, will actually don't just go after clothes, lay their eggs, and little caterpillars don't just eat clothes. They'll also eat owl pellets, and I once forgot to cook some owl pellets, and they got eaten by moths, and there's lots of caterpillars in them, and then little moths hatched out. So taking it out of the foil and then just start breaking it up. Now some places you'll read, if you read an old thing, that you actually soak it, but you don't need to. You can actually just break it open. Always remember though, once you've done it, wash your hands afterwards. So I just start off by using there's a jaw there. Look at that. There's a jaw. So I always start just by using my hands, but you can also use a pair of tweezers, dissecting needle, or actually just a cocktail stick. So we've got a jaw here, and there's little zigzags there, and I'm just wondering if I can put some more light on this. Let me see. That's a bit better. Yes, that'll work. So, yes, that's better. So you can see there's teeth there. Now, if I pull out one of the teeth, I know from the zigzag down there, if they were knobbly, they'd be mouse. If they were sharp, they would be shrew. But these are zigzags, so I pull them out, and can you see it's flat on the top and flat on the bottom? That means this is a full vole. So barely started and it already got a full vole. Pretty certain this is the other half of the full vole, lower jaw. So will we find the skull, or will we find the skull of something else possibly? That's a pelvis. The leg bones. You see all the fur. So it's just fur and bones. It's not yucky at all. And I see a tooth. I see teeth. Yes, we found the skull. Yes. I can tell from the zigzag teeth that just there's a little bit just there that tells me it's actually a full vole rather than a bank vole. But if you weren't sure, you just pull them out. So that's us, got the full vole, the full skull there, but we'll see whether there's any other skulls in here or remnants. It seemed quite big just to have one in here. Here's another skull. Can you see here? It's actually the whole skull is all together. It will come apart as I take it off, but there's the teeth are already falling out. So again, full vole. So that says definitely had two full voles. Now you'll notice that both the skulls don't have the back, they're not full skulls, and the reason for that is that the owl quite often will put its sharp beak through the back of this, the head of the capture, just to kill it before they eat it, before they swallow it, so that it's dead before they swallow. So I think that's about it. There's a tiny little vertebrae there. So it's really great fun. I mean, you can get sort of like, you know, if you can get wood mice in here. You can also get bank vole, common shrew, pygmy shrew, water shrew, and then maybe something unusual like a rat or even a bat sometimes. So most unusual thing I think I've ever had in it when I was running the course was a weasel. So it's really worthwhile actually getting involved in oil pellet analysis for several reasons. One is it's just good fun, and who wouldn't want to take it apart? You have to be a bit like, CSI, Wildlife CSI, and work out, take it all apart, and work out what the oil's been eaten and how many it's been eaten, and if you've got lots of skulls and jaws, how many have you actually got? You could actually have more lower jaws if you've got 5 left lower jaws and only 3 right, but in 4 skulls. But actually, that means there's at least 5 things eaten because you get 5 lower jaws. So, yeah, lots of interesting stuff, but also really useful for things like organisations like the Mammal Society to know what wildlife has been eaten, what the owls have been eaten, and gives an idea of population health of small mammals, and also about the geographical distribution of small mammals. The Mammal Society at the minute is really interested in the greater white-toothed shrew, which has turned up in the north east of England, and they want to know how far it has spread. And one of the ways they're doing that is looking at oil pellets to see if white-toothed shrews, skulls and jaws are turning up in oil pellets, and they're very easy to spot because the 3 native species, the pygmy, the common, and the water, all have red on their teeth, and the greater white-toothed shrew, there's a clue in the name, has white teeth. So, really, it's great fun. You don't need much, just a tub like this, so, a pair of tweezers and a cocktail stick, and if you're going to do it fairly soon, if you find an oil pellet and you're not going to keep it for very long, what I would say is wrap it up and pop it in the freezer just for 24 hours to kill off any bugs. But if you're going to keep it any longer, to make sure you kill off any caterpillar eggs, moth eggs that are in there, just pop it in some foil and cook it. The only thing is, don't do it if your other half's around and they don't really like you doing it. I have got in trouble for that in the past. If you want to do it, have a look online as well. There is actually some courses, there'll be in-person courses, but I actually do a online course. People sign up, and if they can provide their own oil pellets, it's a lower price, but if they can't, if they actually pay the higher price, I actually post out the oil pellets to them, and they can take part. It's a practical workshop, even though it's done over Zoom. So, yes. And the other thing I suppose I should talk about is booklets. There's 2 publications I would recommend when it comes to oil pellets, and that is from the Mammal Society, the analysis of oil pellets. It's just a few pounds, and this one's even cheaper, which is from the Field Studies Council in association with the Hawk and Owl Trust. This one here is on owls, but inside it goes into detail about oil pellets and the bones you might find inside. Both of these, you could actually get them for about, both of them together for about a tenner online, if you go to the Natural History Book Service or something like that. So go on, get out there, find an oil pellet and get dissecting. And if you're interested in one of my oil pellet workshops or any of my other workshops or events I've got coming up, check out gwecology.com. So I hope you've enjoyed My Wildlife Here 2024 January edition. Not sure how it's going to edit together. It's been maybe a bit choppy in places. It's been really difficult. I've got out of the habit. During 2021, I was new. Every video I was making it for My Wildlife Year, and I was planning ahead. Past couple of years, it's been really ad hoc, so it's just been if I've been doing something, I've made a video. Back to planning ahead, and I found it actually quite difficult during this month, but hope it all comes together in the edit and you enjoy it. And what this February holds, I'm not sure, but I think I'll probably be introducing you to these guys. Something to look forward to. See you in February.